Hello, Shelf Space community. Welcome to the third episode of our Thought Leadership webinar, where we facilitate knowledge sharing between all the different CPG companies we work with, including manufacturers, suppliers, brokers, distributors, retailers, and data companies. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I have everyone on mute, so if there's anything that you would like to comment or have a question about, please utilize the comment box. You just click on that comment icon. You should be able to type right in there. And we will address all of the questions and comments at the end. I'm really excited about this one. This one's about a subject near and dear to my heart, and that is how to build a killer retail execution plan, also known as an R.E.P, R.E.P, pun intended. So first, what are we going to go over? First thing is, what is R.E.P? What do we mean by retail execution plan? Second, common pitfalls and how to avoid them. Third, we'll go over essential forms in an effective R.E.P, retail execution plan, as well as essential reports for an effective R.E.P. And then tips and tricks to enhance your retail execution plan. So first off, what is a retail execution plan? What do we mean by that? Well, a retail execution plan is where the rubber meets the road. After all the preseason analysis and strategic planning are complete, you've got your product lineup all set, you've made your trades, you've made your upgrades, it is now game time. I would argue that this is the most important part of the sales marketing process, and yet, unfortunately, it's all too often the most neglected, which, to continue this sports analogy for those that do fantasy leagues, it's like doing all the pre-draft work, doing hours and hours of research to ensure you have that perfect lineup, and then completely ignoring the rest of the season, hoping you get lucky and win. Now, if anyone has done a fantasy football or fantasy basketball league, you know that the consistent winners are those that watch the games, they track the player injuries, the trends, the gaps, they make those changes throughout the season. Those are the guys that win it. And the exact same goes for the CPG industry. People that are managing at retail level, getting visibility, making changes, adapting, that is how you consistently win. Every now and then you can rely on blind luck, but if you are determined to dominate the competition, it is done through an effective retail execution plan. So what is it? It's getting the right product in the right place at the right time. It's a set of guidelines, tasks, questions, some people call it checklists, whatever you want to call it, but it's what you want your field team to follow and do at each and every account that they visit. So with that, what are some common pitfalls as companies are building their retail execution plan? Number one is turning field reps into just simply auditors, where they're just going in and they are taking information. They're not leveraging their power to take action, make sales, and improve store conditions. So we're going to go over in the forms, as we go over the different forms and reports, how to make sure this doesn't happen, how to ensure that your reps are making a difference and not just collecting information. Number two is making forms too complicated. The last thing you want to do is having reps waste their valuable selling time trying to figure out how to answer certain questions or having an ineffective workflow or just spending hours answering expensive questionnaires. So how do you solve this? The best way to do this is test it out yourself. It's amazing each time if you create a form, you think you're in the office, you think you've done it the right way, you go out into an actual store, not just testing it while you're sitting there, but go to an actual store and you will be amazed at the little refinements that you pick up on and the different workflows you can help improve. So make sure when you create your audit forms, your questionnaires to our form builder, that you go through and you test it yourself. Second is making forms too simple on the other side of the spectrum. The biggest expense is getting your rep into the store. So once they are there, utilize them. There's so much valuable information that you can collect about your product, about competitors, about the overall store opportunities. And so it's about finding that balance. And what is that balance? Unfortunately, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Every company is different. It really depends on what your focus is on, what promotions are being ran, and really what your appetite is for visibility versus appetite for selling. So we'll go through a few examples, but again, it's going to be dependent on you, and you're going to get a good feel of that when you test it out. The last thing, not testing, the last thing is also feeling like it's all on you. It's on your field teams to cover the entire market. There are resources out there to ensure where you don't feel like you're left alone. Number one, leverage crowdsourcing. There's lots of crowdsourcing options out there. We've actually partnered up with a crowdsourcing team that have literally hundreds of thousands of reps waiting to get that alert that says, hey, there's a store near you that you can answer these simple 5 questions. So anywhere from $10 to $30 a store, depending on your questions, you can get very quick visibility in those areas that it doesn't make sense to go out and send a rep. So use that crowdsourcing. If you have questions on how to activate that in your account, just let us know. And then the second part is leverage data. Be smart about it. Don't feel like you have to send your reps blindly. We have some great data integration tools and coverage maps that allows you to identify what are the stores with the biggest opportunity, so that you know your sales are going to an effective store call and not just fixing a store that maybe not having issues. So that leads us into what are the essential forms for a retail execution plan. There are 5 forms that we suggest to include into your retail execution plan, at least these 5 forms. Number 1 is a store and account information form. This is what it's the actual update form. If you remember, when you're creating a form, there are a couple behaviors. There's a reset form and an update form. The update form is made to act like your CRM. So you include questions like who is the account owner, who's the buyer, what's his name, what's the contact information, any notes, what's the distributor, all those details that you want to know and update on every single store call. This is how you ensure that you're keeping your relationships even with rep turnover, that you keep all of those previous notes. So again, you create that form, and I would assign it to every store. I would have a separate info for at the store level as well, and then another one for your headquarter account, and have it assigned to all of them. Second is a store conditions or compliance audit. This is where you're incorporating the 4 Ps of marketing: your product, your pricing and promotion, your placement. It's where you're gathering competitive information. So I have a quick, very simple form example of that to show you. Here's one. In 6 questions, you're finding out what products are in the store. It's just a multi-select. You list each one of your products. Then you're selecting store conditions. So instead of just a yes, no, you're actually going and saying, okay, what are the things that I need to follow up with this store? Is there a void? Is there an out of stock? Incorrect pricing, poor placement, whatever you want your reps to report back on, whatever store conditions you want to know, just list it in a simple multi-select. Then your pricing information, list the price. If it's on promotion, you could have a yes, no promotional price, and then have one for promotion price and one for retail everyday price. And take a picture and a simple follow-up comments the next step. So this is probably the most simple form. There's levels. We're going to go on the next webinar about different examples and different ways you can format and incorporate the 4 Ps of marketing. But this allows you to give a quick overview of how the store condition is. The third one is a sales activity report. This is where you turn your auditors into sales reps. It's what are the activities that they are doing, what action did they take when they're in the store. So they're not just collecting information, they're increasing your bottom line. So for example, did they talk to the store manager? How many new placements did they make? Did they make a reorder, an outcome question? Let me go ahead and give an example of this. Again, this is a very, very simple 5-question survey that can tell you a lot of information of what the rep is doing in the store. So I have what is the store status, and gives you a quick update for that store, whether it's good to go or whether someone needs to follow up on it. Then you can have a simple, what were the objectives completed? That way you're listing out and you're recording what exactly did they do, even if it's as simple as they fixed the display issue or made it look better, fixed it out of stock, sold a new placement. What are all those activities you want them to be doing? Then you can track and measure their new placements or how many reorders were done, and then just, again, any kind of comments there. So you can see, still very simple, yet getting a lot more out of your reps than just simply taking pictures and answering a questionnaire. The next one solves the issue of oftentimes a rep is out in the field and they see an issue as they're going about that they want the whole team to know about. Well, normally what a rep might do is he might take a picture and then have to pull up his email and try and remember everybody's email address and then figure out how to insert the picture and write comments and describe the issue. Well, this is a simple way to create a form that we call a call-out form. And you have the ability to enter everyone's email address that you want to be notified anytime that this form is filled out. So say, for example, you're going along and you see a new product. Maybe it's a important competitor product, or it's some kind of trend that you're seeing, and you want to make sure the rest of the team is aware of it. This form we suggest to be very simple. You may describe what kind of the issue is, so maybe it's a drop down of it. This is a new product, or however you want to categorize your different call outs. Then you take a picture, and then you have just a generic notes section. So in 3 questions, they quickly fill it out, hit submit, and that immediately sends a copy of that form to everybody that you have down as to be notified. So it could be to everyone on the team, could be to executive management. It's just a very, very simple way to collaborate and to communicate with the team on different unique events or extraordinary events. Lastly is a store change request. We know how often stores change, people buying, retailers buying other retailers out, stores closing, new stores opening. Well, store change request is one where you can simply have at every store that says what changes need to be made to the store. Maybe the address wasn't correct when we uploaded it. Maybe the distributor changed. Whatever information that you're wanting to change, you just list in there, and they complete that anytime there's a change to that store. Now, with this, you'll want to make sure you have someone in the office monitoring these as they come in, usually once a week at least. You want to go through all of them. However, we also have a managed services. If that's something you want us, we become very streamlined in that process. And if you want to offload that process to us, we can set up so you have that updated on a every other day or even daily. So reach out to us if you want to have us do that. So those are about the typical 5 forms. Now, sometimes, for example, store conditions and compliance audit, these can, depending on how in-depth you want to make it, can be broken out. Some people have done where a pricing audit is completely separate, and they only have their reps fill that out maybe once a week or one per major headquarter chain because it's a lot more in-depth. It's every single product they put in the pricing, whereas others really get in-depth on their own product. So there's definitely flexibility here, but this is where I would suggest everyone start, are these 5 forms. Then once you have the forms and you have your team out there collecting and doing that sales activity, the next is how do we monitor and how do we view the progress in a very simple way. So there's 3 essential reports that we suggest. The first one is the rep activity report. There's a real good quote by someone. I forgot who actually made the quote, but it's where performance is measured, performance improves. Where performance is measured and reported, the rate of improvement accelerates. So just by simply ensuring that all of your reps are getting notified of their progress on a daily, weekly basis, they're immediately going to inherently, naturally improve their performance, especially when they know that their managers and executives are seeing that progress and that reporting. So let me give you an example of one that we have. Again, this is based off that simple 5 or 6 question survey we have, and we have an awesome report that you can create off of that. First, this is again in your standard reporting when you create your custom report. Again, if you have questions on how to do this, we have some tutorials, so just reach out. But first I did a coverage and see what area, give you a reference point of what area your team is covering. And then it's a simple table view where you've got for every rep, you see, okay, how many store visits did they make? How many new placements did they make? How many reorders? You can immediately start seeing those that are doing very high effort with the store visits, as well as those that are very high in effectiveness with reorders and new placements. We have this little nice graph. This is based on the outcome question where they're just selecting the things, the activities that they did. And it's a great way to visualize tendencies in reps. You can see, okay, it looks like Mike Thompson has trouble getting a hold of the store manager. Maybe you need to reach out to him and figure out what is his scheduling. How is he scheduling that? Maybe he can talk to Wayne Gretzky, who's extremely good at ensuring that he's there when the manager is there. Or you have Michael Jordan, who is really good at opening new accounts, whereas Dave Albertson here isn't opened any account and he needs help. It's just a great way to identify who are your top performers in certain areas and really help to get the team to come together and collaborate on each other's strengths. And then you have a quick little follow-up of how many stores are in compliant, how many needs follow-up, and just overall as a team, how's that activity going. So you can see, you can get a lot of information from just a very basic survey. Then you can have this automatically sent, like I mentioned, daily to each rep or daily to the managers, or we have a week to date or a month to date report as well. And just getting this on a daily basis is going to immediately provide that motivation to your sales teams to try and hit those goals and hit those numbers that they see their progress at. Second is a retail recap, and this is based off of the store conditions or the audit form, where you get just a recap. Again, here we have a trend chart of store visits, but this is a recap that's broken down by retailer. So this is an example. I just had Walmart. If maybe right before you're going to meet with Walmart, you pull this report. It's great for those retailer meetings. You can also list what are your top 5 retailers, or in fact, every headquarter chain. You can break it down just like you did by rep with the other one. You can do it by retailer. And here you see, okay, what is your product execution? What are your top products? What are your top issues? We have 111 voids. We have 47 stores that are perfectly in compliance and everything in between. So again, it's just a real easy, quick visual of what's going on from a retailer perspective. Then, of course, we always suggest adding pictures. So along with your pricing information, you can come in here. This is a great way on a daily basis to get an auto email push to you of pictures. We once had a client say, I have learned more in 2 weeks looking at the photo gallery and the pictures than I've had my entire time here with the company. It is extremely powerful to just go and be able to scan through all the different pictures that your reps are taking, as well as you can add the comments, maybe it's the follow-up tasks, and get to see if there's any trends and what's going on. And then the third one that we suggest is with that call-out form to just have a call-out summary. Essentially what your call-out form, if remember from earlier, is just being able to notice all of those different issues and things that are out of the ordinary. Well, it's great to have a summary of that so you can know, have we checked up on this? Have we addressed this issue? So just having a simple way to summarize that. Lastly, we will go over some tips and tricks based on that information now that you've seen some examples of building retail execution plans and reporting on those plans. What are some things to keep in mind as you do that? First, make sure you're utilizing our advanced form options. We have a lot of different options that can really enhance the form. For example, conditional questions. We have certain questions appear only if the answer is yes or only if the answer is no. Tooltip. This is where you attach an image or a file to a specific question. This is most commonly used for a planogram or a sheet that has all the authorized SKUs. So you can simply ask the question, is the store in compliant? Does it have all the authorized SKUs? And that will often change. So instead of rewording and changing the form, you're just uploading the new authorized list. You have calculation questions. People like to calculate, for example, average distribution, where you add up how many items were there before or once you arrived, plus the new items equals your average distribution once you leave. So there's ways you can add and average questions up automatically. And then you have their dividers. This is great, again, to break up the form as well as adding additional instructions within the form of, okay, now go here or go talk to the store manager or keep this in mind, whatever additional instructions you want to call out in the form. Second, we suggest is pictures, pictures, pictures. We constantly see the value of pictures. One just recently came up of a client that said they would have never noticed a couple things, but due to the pictures, they noticed when their product is in a certain packaging versus a different packaging, it greatly enhanced the look and feel of the product. And that would have never been seen had it not been in the actual, opened up in the actual store. Or they also had one of the packages was being placed on the side and they didn't have any logo on the side of the package, and they realized, hey, we need to change our packaging. Let me get with the marketing team. Something, again, they would have never seen had they not been looking at the pictures. So make sure you have lots of room for pictures. You can add multiple picture questions. Sometimes you get reps that say, hey, I can't fit the entire thing, so they take a really far picture and then you can't even see the details. So definitely break it up, have one for your own product versus pictures of competitor products. Really leverage those pictures. Third, make this a natural motivator. Don't turn the retail execution plan into a punisher. Make it a motivator. You want to again, like we talked about, send out daily, weekly, and clearly define what are the goals based on these metrics. If you have something that is very important in your company, whether it's pushing a specific product or pushing new placements or pushing a demo, make sure that it's tracked and that it's in the form and in your reports. And you will find that this will just naturally motivate your team to outperform each other. And that's it. So definitely keep the next webinar is about actually examples of incorporating the 4 marketing Ps. So reach out if you have any questions or any thoughts around that subject. I will send out the date and time later on, but please join us for that and get the word out for others in your team that may be affected or may find value in that. But again, if you have any questions, here are the different ways to reach out to us. We love hearing from you. And that's it. Thanks for joining. I don't think I see any comments in the comment box. If you have any questions, throw it in there. I'll stay for a couple minutes, but appreciate everybody for joining with us.